Yeah. Right. Storytelling diorama.
Minis. Hi everyone, organised here and welcome back to another video. So that was footage from MPO 2026 in Bristol, held by Cult of Paint, and I've wanted to make this video for a little while now. I've been away so I'm unable to make it, but here we are, and just to talk about my entry, my experience at the event, and definitely try to encourage you to go and participate in Cult of Paint's open competition yourself. So let's get on to it. The Miniature Painting Open, or MPO, is one of the UK's biggest celebrations of miniature painting, and it's organised by the team at Cult of Paint as associated with the larger team at Miniature Painting Open. At its heart, MPO isn't just a competition, but it's a gathering of painters who love the hobby, and whether you're entering your first competition piece or bringing a cabinet full of awards with you, the aim is to create an environment where people feel like they can showcase their work, learn from one another, meet friends, and spend the weekend completely immersed in the world of miniature art. Now, one of the things that makes MPO different is its open judging system. Rather than there being only one gold, silver and bronze available, multiple painters can achieve those awards if their work meets the required standard. The focus is less on beating the person next to you and more on achieving the highest standard you can. There are several categories such as painting, dioramas and storytelling, and vehicles, but competitors also choose the level they wish to enter at: beginner, standard or master. And this means newer painters aren't competing directly against some of the world's most accomplished artists unless they choose to do so. What I love most about MPO is that it feels less like a traditional competition and more like a celebration of the hobby. Now yes, people are chasing medals and best of show awards, but the real value comes from standing shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of painters, seeing the world's class work up close, getting feedback from judges at the end and leaving inspired to paint better than you did before. For many painters, MPO has become the UK's equivalent to an art exhibition for miniature painting. A place to display your best work, learn from the very best, and just see how far the hobby can be pushed. That being said, let's talk about the entry I took along into the diorama category, what I learned, and the experience I have with my brothers along the way. So last year I entered into MPO 2025, right? And I did pretty well. I entered with a display into standard for painting, and I was given a silver award, and it was awesome, to be honest. Like, really proud of that, really excited and happy to have been awarded a silver at that level, especially with the standard being as high as it was. But I left that event feeling really hungry and wanting more. So I said to myself, okay, next year I'm going to enter into masters and I'm gonna try and get commended, and that's how I felt. That was kind of my motivation. I see if I can do a bit better next time. Now, I wasn't sure what I was going to take to next year, but I knew I had to improve, and I knew I had to be something that I really loved. And then it hit me, that freaking trailer. After watching that trailer, I was hooked. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop thinking about how much I enjoyed just that one scene, and it just had a spark in me, it lit a fire under me, and I knew that I wanted to make it or something like it. So now I'll kind of go into a little bit of my process, and all of this can be actually found on my Patreon at organised, and where I go through the whole process and break down all the kind of choices I've made. But very lightly here, I found some artwork that really helped to visualize the ideas I had in my head, using the kind of characters and art as reference to kind of build upon those ideas. From my color choices of the bright orange sunlight to the blue shadows to the really grotesque skin and chitin of the Tyranids, everything was kind of inspired by that trailer. And as soon as I was ready, I kind of got to work, and it went through so many different iterations, and I kind of sat down and painted almost every night with my friends, and we kind of gave each other feedback, and that really made such a difference. Now, I'm not really going to be talking about the painting itself in this. This isn't a tutorial, it's just my thoughts. So I'd rather just talk over the kind of footage, but this kind of gives you an insight to how I went about painting the different elements of the diorama. I think for me, diorama is really cool because it allows us to kind of tell a story, to kind of go back to what made us fall in love with Warhammer in the first place and recreate a scene or create something completely new from our own imagination. And I think the whole fact that I was in love with that scene or in love with the idea I had in my head, it really drove me to push beyond what I was normally capable of. And to the fact of like using acrylics, this was like the first big project that I actually used acrylics on. For the most part, previously I'd been using oils, and this time I actually did a combination which really led to some amazing results, and I was really happy to do so. The second part was the fact that I was actually painting with friends throughout the whole process. So we would jump onto Discord, like I kind of mentioned before, and just sit for hours talking and giving each other feedback. Obviously, a lot of us are, well, all of us are full-time and in work, so we can only really catch up and talk about these things as we're kind of going during the week. But it was just so refreshing to kind of have people to bounce ideas off and really have a crew that's going in the same direction as you. I think one of the best things about this is that I really improved my technical ability on this painting. I knew that one of the things that I had given feedback for was that my painting, although the display was really good, it kind of felt a bit confused, like I wasn't really sure which direction to go in. My busts were full of color and full of expression and very loose, but my 32 miniatures, my Warhammer miniatures, were very different in style, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I was very clear that I wasn't ready to enter into Masters. So this time I wanted to make sure that I practiced, that I had a clear idea of what I wanted to do, and just build on top of that. And I think actually just having my friends there with me to kind of talk me through certain ideas and stop me from making silly mistakes was really important, really useful. But I had a very clear idea of what I wanted. Now, for those of you who might not know, I am a video game designer, a level designer, and a lot of the kind of ideas and the thought process behind my entry, behind the composition, that all comes from my experience from working in that industry for almost 13 years. And what that kind of has led to was, like, I had a lot of the theory in my head, but I didn't really have the technical ability to pull it off until this project. So making sure that I was practicing, getting feedback, not just from my peers, but also from industry professionals that could kind of give me that feedback to support me. And yeah, this entry actually ended up going through 60 rounds of feedback. Now, for a lot of people, that might seem a bit excessive, but for me, I needed it. I needed to make sure that I'd kind of caught these areas, and like just also to just ensure that I wasn't just getting in my own head and suffering from tunnel vision. So I think actually putting your work in front of people was hugely useful. A good friend of mine, Aaron, also allowed me to judge at Salute, which also just gave me, not only was it an awesome opportunity, but it also gave me an insight to how judging works, and also like what to look for in your own miniatures and just keep an eye out on. So it was like quite an awesome timed thing to go through, and I really don't think I could have had the success I did had I not had that opportunity to really look and understand what makes a good model, what makes a cohesive model. So I'm really proud of that result. Now, I think the scythes were actually the hardest part of this project to paint. Everyone knows what a Space Marine looks like, but for the Tyranids, they were actually pretty easy, or the most fun, because there was so much freedom with them. But for like a Space Marine, yeah, you know that we know, just like a human face, we'll know if something's off because we see so many Space Marines. So I really needed a way to make the entry really interesting. So what I wanted to do is actually play with the lighting, and I'd never seen orange lighting on black armor. I'd never seen that done, and I said, okay, this could be quite an awesome opportunity. Obviously it exists in the real world, it exists in that trailer, but I hadn't seen anyone try it, so I thought I'd give this a go. And I believe that the atmosphere that created, and it's kind of in a way, no, it wasn't by accident, I definitely intended to do it, but I didn't think it would have the result that it did. And so it just kept coming back to this idea of this strong light source hitting them, and just kind of reacting to like feedback I'd get from my peers, my friends, and kind of just working on that. The idea of being able to paint in acrylic first and get my sketches down and then go over it to refine in oils really saved me so much time, and also allowed me to be a lot more free with how I approach the model. Now, also on the back, and this is something that I kept hidden from pretty much everyone except those I was asking for feedback, is the kind of cold lighting that you saw in the trailer. I think people were really surprised initially when they actually saw it, and I couldn't have done this really without the feedback and support from the people on my Patreon. So I really want to give a big shout out to all my patrons for all the kind of like support they've given me. I definitely couldn't have made it without you guys helping me through this process and really pushing me forward. The Tyranids, like I said, were the most fun because I could really be free with them. I hadn't seen anyone kind of do these markings or really kind of define and sculpt out the flesh in this way. So I'm sure it's been done, like I just hadn't seen it. So I wanted to give it a go, and I spent a lot of time looking at references, especially in Space Marine 2, where you can actually go in and look at the characters and understand all the different elements. And this kind of gave me a lot of courage. There was a lot of new things I did on this model. I had never done OSL to this degree. I hadn't done a diorama before. I hadn't done multi-ambient lighting. I hadn't done the level of freehand that you'll be seeing in this, particularly like here on the kind of tendrils and the toxin sacs. I hadn't actually, there was so many firsts on this model, but the fact that it took me around 8 months to do meant that I gave myself enough time to kind of practice and just enjoy it and just have fun learning. And that's what really made this entry so successful, I think, is because regardless of whatever the result was going to be, I knew I was having fun. I knew that I was enjoying it every second of the way. Now again, the whole process is actually on my my Patreon, so if you're interested in how I painted it, you can definitely check it out there. But the key thing here was I wasn't kind of going into the competition with the idea, okay, I'm going to win an award. What I did want is an improvement and a way to measure that improvement. So I said, okay, I'm going to enter into Masters because that's how I wanted to be judged. And I wanted the judges to look at me as peers and equals rather than tutors. So that's the approach I took. And here, you know, this is like one of the last screenshots I actually sent out onto Instagram before before me and my crew hit the road. We were on our way to the house, but someone left their luggage on the train.
Sorry.
So now we're having a really scenic route, and I'm just hoping we don't burst a tyre as we drive. Really nice. I think one of the things that made the event so much fun was the fact that we were doing it with friends. Like the guys that I've been mentioning, I'll give them a shout out below and you'll see their work through the rest of the video, but like these guys were monumental for the success of the piece, but also like the actual event itself, the weekend, was one of the best highlights of the year. It was so fun. We just caught up, laughed, spoke about models. We also realized how old we're getting because, man, some of us just went straight to bed. We were exhausted after the first day and just catching up with people, but it was so much fun. Literally, like if you can go to any events like this, whether it's MPO or any other event, going with a group of friends that you really get on with and just going as a team felt really good. That it just made the whole difference of the entire event. Okay, so now I just want to talk about some of my favourite pieces from members of the community who entered, and this is from Liam, who is an amazing, not just an amazing artist, and painter, but a sculptor as well. A lot of the stuff that you're seeing here is actually hand sculpted, and when I placed my entry next to his, I was like, wow, okay, that's gonna definitely destroy mine in the lighting, in the kind of lighting we had. Like, it really just glowed. So I thought this was super powerful and beautiful, and I think it did end up getting a pretty decent reward as well. Next up was this Space Marine, which is incredible, like absolutely incredible. Like now this has actually gone through quite a few rounds of feedback, but this model was so clean. I believe it got a silver in Masters, and like definitely like beautiful. I kind of looked at it, I was like, oh goodness me, imagine having to do that on an entire squad. I'd go mad. But dude, honestly, fantastic work. It was absolutely gorgeous to look at. The level of detail on the highlights, the cleanliness of some of the areas, and yeah, you can definitely see where he'd taken feedback from previous entries and just made improvements onto it. So it's really well done. This one from Will Paints is just fantastic. Automatically reminds me of, when I look at it, of like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto, and I just love the color palette that Will uses here. Now the actual one he entered and won with was just fantastic as well, but this one just really stuck out to me. I love the kind of highlights and the volumes on the necklace around his neck, and the headdress, as well as the fur. All of it just really harmonizes so well, and it was just really nice to look at. This model from Austin of Pippin from Middle Earth is really beautiful. My eyes were instantly drawn to the color palette, how soft it is, and you know, you've got the analogous color scheme in Pippin's dresses, the way he's been dressed, as well as the kind of beautiful rock and stone that's been kind of marked out, and everything just really works well together. I also love the way the flag is leaning over the plinth to kind of break the fourth wall. It just really guides the eyes, and it's pretty cool. I really need to give a shout out, by the way, to Sinister for these fantastic photos. I have stolen them from his archive, and if you want to see them, I'll put a link in the description below. Next up we have Ross Tovey from Tovey Paints, and it's, goodness me, like I think that is probably some of the most beautiful skin I think I've seen on a bust, especially for the dark skinned lady. Absolutely fantastic. I can see where he's been using some of the like color lessons we went through on our course together, and it's really showing up so well. He paints so fantastically, and it's so polished. Really love the way he kind of portrays these different characters and on these busts. So it's just really lovely to look at. His Henry VIII was actually insane too. And I think he was rewarded for that too with a bronze. I might have got that wrong, but yeah, just fantastic level of painting. Really fantastic. Another one that I really loved was this Golden Demon winning entry from Aaron Clark, and Aaron's a really good friend of mine, like I mentioned before, and like seeing these guys in the hand was just incredible. Like Aaron is really known for his clean painting as well as his saturation, and here it was so clear to see. I don't know how he was able to get those shoulders, like the gold elements, especially on Kato, so clean. It's insane. I've tried to paint stuff like that and struggled, so you really do need brush control, really good brush control, and it's super clear to see from Aaron. And it's fantastic. So yeah, just if you get a moment to see this in the hands, it will blow your mind just how clean it is. And lastly, another entry that I really liked was the armor from Alan Harper, and this was actually in standard, and I do believe he got a gold for this award. Fantastic. Again, the whole idea, the storytelling element, the cast shadow, just the attention to detail, like an old soldier looking back at his glory days of like the armor that he used to wear, maybe into battle, or yeah, just fantastic. Really beautiful. I loved it. I loved just how much time was probably spent and the kind of thought behind it, especially with that like golden peachy light as well. Just really lovely to look at. The other great thing about MPO is the ability to look at the judges entries of what they'd brung from previous competitions. And Andy Waddle, head judge, had his fantastic dioramas on display, and I've actually owe a lot to Andy for even getting into diorama, because it's his displays that really made me want to tell stories, and leaning towards these more somber scenes as opposed to like big battles, but yeah, just kind of choosing on what really inspires you. So it's just fantastic to be able to see his work in the hand and look at it. I was so tempted to pick it up, and I had to stop myself. Well, more like other people had to stop me from picking it up, because I would have done it if I'd been allowed. But just absolutely beautiful work from Andy, to be able to see this in the hand. Gareth Nichols also had his work on display as well, and to be honest, I'd seen Gareth's work, I've heard of Gareth mentioned quite a few times, I'd seen pieces of his work online, but oh my gosh, in the hand, this stuff is insane. Like, he's easily becoming one of my favourite miniature painters, and although like this stuff is some of his older things, I think, that he sculpted from hand, I might be wrong about some of that, but just insane. Like the Eldar, this dude actually made me fall in love with Eldar, and I'm like, what? Eldar? I can't believe it. But yeah, just look at the amount of detail and the crispness and just how clean everything is. Again, thanks to Sinister for these fantastic photos, because I was silly, I didn't take a single photo of the day, but it was just great to see this and be able to just witness this stuff in the hand was really awesome. Then had Thibaut Raum, and his work was absolutely fantastic, like just insane amounts of detail. And the great thing about this is like, these are people who you wouldn't be able to see unless you'd gone to like Golden Demon, and so it's actually a huge privilege to be able to see these guys, their work that they've been producing, and look at it in the hand. And it just, like, the photos on Golden Warhammer's community's website just don't do them justice. Even the Instagram photos don't do it justice. In the hand, it's so remarkable, and you just realize how flat and how clean these paint jobs are, to just see them in the hand and really like look at them and then ask some questions about their entries and their motivations too. It was a real privilege. And then Eric Swinson, was the first time I'd actually met Eric in person. He had brought some of his previous pieces and some models from a class he had done, and he was doing a workshop in the UK, and unfortunately I couldn't go because I was away in Italy, but like I heard it was fantastic. But he brought his models too, and they were just gorgeous as well. So it was, I think I spent most of my time actually at the judges table just looking at those models, because I think, to be honest, those are the guys I'm really aiming for. And it was just fantastic to see such a different level of styles. Arnau had his beautiful Sanguinius too, and you know, Arnau's a huge inspiration on me and the way I like to paint. And it was just fantastic, man. It was really great to see these things up close. So as the day came to the end, we were asked to leave because the judges needed to begin judging, and that just freed us up to kind of go and hang out at a bar in Bristol and just chill for a bit and just catch up with friends we hadn't seen in a while. But to be honest, it was at this point where I started to sweat. Funny enough, on the lead up to actually going to MPO, I didn't think I had done a good job. I really felt like I'd messed up. I hadn't finished things. Even though I started 8 months ago, I still felt like there were so many areas I could improve on. And I started to think, like, I remember being convinced by my crew, like, to enter Masters, but I almost said, okay, to Alex, like, okay, I'm going to enter to standard, and just try to, you know, get a gold in standard. And he said, no, you're ready for Masters. You've painted for Masters, so do it. And I was still nervous. So all of us were kind of, in the morning, we caught up with each other, and we were just terrified because the judging was the results were beginning. And I just remember David's face, for example, as he was just waiting to hear the results. So at the moment of making this video, I've been pestering the guys at Cult of Paint to release the award ceremony, but they haven't been able to get around to it this time. So my friend Quipster, Alex Quipster, has filmed some footage of the awards, and we weren't able to get everyone, but just our crew basically. I'll let that play in the background here, and you can just watch the reactions in real time.
Silver, we've got Adam Rhodes, Ben Cogger, The gold winners this year in standard painting. Adam Chris Wickham, Dan Miller, David Murphy's full display, Gabriel Ivy Paints the full display, James Brennan, Jonathan Coleman, Blue Spencer, Masters Painting. Aaron Clark, Aidan Daly, Bruce Rose, display, congratulations, Silver. Alex.
So now I just want to talk about these guys individually and their entries and the difference they made. So David here, he entered and won gold for his whole display. Bearing in mind, David's entries are about a year old, maybe a bit older. So that means over a year ago, he was painting at that level. And David is pretty much, like Alex, one of the best technical members of our group. And his painting is incredible. So thinking about what he's painting now in comparison to what he just entered and how well it did, I'm quite scared of what he's going to create next year for MPO and future competitions. Like, he's a real genius. Alex, as you may have seen, painted this beautiful bust from Cult of Paint. And what's crazy about this is that Alex did it in a couple of months, and he has a really strong approach to display painting. He's very methodical, and like I said about Dave, he's also got a really strong attitude towards finish, and it really comes through in this piece because it was his first competition. Bear in mind, he'd never entered the competition before, and so he entered it into standard, and the next day he couldn't find his model, only to discover it had been moved to masters. So yeah, really incredible, really proud of him. And can't wait to see what he does next. Then we have Tom, who did a beautiful model here. He actually did a bust as well as a pirate. I think it was a pirate, which was tiny, incredibly tiny. But this model from Warhammer was incredible. I had actually not seen it before. I think it's also a year old. And but I don't think he'd entered it into MPO before, and he got a bronze for it. So really impressed by this one. Thomas had been painting this on the move in general. He'd been painting all his display had been painted on the move, and from hotels. So it's kind of crazy the ability and the finish he was able to get on this. She also mentioned that David also got gold for his entire display. So yeah, the crew is just really strong. And really quite scary. So yeah, really proud of Tom for doing this, considering everything he's had to face, and just such a fantastic job on this model. So then we have Quipster, and man, what a monster. This dude painted this and was able to get a silver. Alex is just incredible when it comes to, again, painting really small things and doing it so well and neatly. He loves the heavy metal style, although I do believe he's kind of moving away from that now. But he painted this in 2 weeks. And Alex had to push him into painting for MPO. He wasn't going to enter, so I'm really quite pleased with this success and what he's managed to achieve from this. And he's also the cameraman, so basically none of these videos would have been recorded had it not been for him. So really grateful to everything he did. We also have Samit, who painted this beautiful Space Wolf tank. And incredible. Again, it took him a couple of months, and he did an excellent job, managed to get a silver for this. I believe that actually Samit has the best Space Wolves in the entire Heresy community. I'm just putting it out there. I really think he's got the strongest army. This dude constantly wins best of painting awards for army painting, so I'm really impressed by this one. But yeah, he's just attitude. He's definitely one of the stronger painters in terms of vehicles, so I'm really proud of him and what he's able to do. And then last but not least, we have Jake. Now Jake wasn't able to enter this year for various reasons, but I just wanted to give him a shout out because his work is immaculate. It's so beautiful, and although he didn't enter into the competition, I think that next year is going to be his year. And you can see just from the finish, he's really, like me, got a focus and a love for contemporary and classical art, so you can see where the influences are in his work, and really looking forward to what's coming next for him. So one of the more recent additions to our crew is Lucas Williams, and he is probably one of the best painters in the UK right now. He's fantastic, and he's right up my alley in terms of like painting style, just due to how he uses his sense of color and atmosphere, and the way he thinks about miniatures, almost like he would in cinematography or in video games. And Lucas was actually showing us his entry I think maybe a few days before MPO was due, and just asking for a little bit of feedback from Alex on like references and stuff. And the moment we saw it, we knew like it was insane. This is a gold master. And like I think the jump between Masters Silver and Masters Gold is actually very high, and Lucas, in the words of Henry, is really the only competition he had was himself. So he rightfully so was awarded Best in Show because his miniature was just fantastic. Now if you look at it, and this isn't even obviously the full picture, there's so much to this, just the texture on the helmet, to the skin, to even like the boils and the flies within the boils, just the way he's manipulated the paint to really make the object, make the model feel real. The leather, the detail on it, it's just insane, honestly. I mean, yeah, if you can get a lesson with Lucas or one-to-one, take it, because the guy's a genius, and we're really happy to have him in our group and to be able to just learn from him as well. So just before this though, obviously it was my turn for diorama, and I'll be honest, I wasn't feeling very, like I said earlier, I wasn't feeling very positive about it. Despite people coming up to me and giving me compliments, I still had, for some reason, had in the back of my head that it just wasn't very good. And they did diorama, like, so for MPO, you'll normally have an award underneath your, like a little card underneath your entry if you've been given commended. But if there's nothing, it means you've got a trophy, or it could mean you've got nothing. So I was dreading it. I knew Masters was a massive risk for me to take. I knew the jump was quite huge, and remember I was going from standard from last year, so I wasn't expecting to do particularly well, but I was hopeful, and I think I just needed more confidence at the end of the day. So when we got up there, they called the commended entries and my name wasn't there, so I was like, oh, okay, cool, maybe I've got a bronze. And then my name wasn't in the bronze, and I was like, oh gosh, have I got a silver? That's crazy, and my name wasn't in the silver. And then dread, because I knew there was no way I would be getting a Go trophy, like there was no way. So like if you watch here, you can actually see me like tearing up a bit just from the anxiety and the stress of it all. Probably shouldn't be like that, but when Henry finally did call the gold and my name popped up first, I absolutely lost it. I was so happy, and it was really just a feeling of like one, relief, but just shock and joy as well. Obviously we'd been painting for about 8 months, and this went through so many rounds, around 60 rounds of feedback from various parties and my painting crew. And so the time investment, hundreds and hundreds of hours into this piece, and I put my best foot forward. So to see that rewarded finally was just huge, and it was like a feeling that I believe will last and stick with me probably for the rest of my life. So there you have it. I didn't want to talk way too long. This wasn't meant to be a very long video, but I guess it ended up being, as I shared my thoughts. I think the biggest thing to my success has been, one, finding the right people, removing myself from negativity, painting with people who also want to improve, and finding a crew that wants to do that, and just making sure we're friends so that we've got that honesty. We can be honest with each other and really talk directly, not beat around the bush, and also making the effort when someone gives you the feedback. Listen, don't try to justify why you've done something, but just listen and take it. You can take it or leave it, but if you do accept it and agree with what they've said, just kind of going back to areas that you know maybe they're really nicely painted and rendered, but they're just wrong. And there was a lot of that on my miniature, so I had to kind of go back and fix those. And I think making that extra effort just to refine really brought me forward and got me the gold. Now there's still bits of this miniature that I still need to finish, so I'll probably work on that in the background for my next competition. But overall, guys, it's been such a wonderful journey, and if you are able to go to MPO, I 100% recommend it. It's an event you won't regret. I want to say thank you to all the judges. Thank you so much for your support and the encouragement. Thank you so much for just the award and the feedback at the end. Getting the feedback and being told, no, Josh, it was just really that good. It's still a shock, and you know, jumping from standard silver to masters gold in the space of a year is pretty remarkable, and I can be proud about that without boasting. So, you know, glory to God. Thank you to him to giving me the courage and the skills and the discipline to kind of push through, and to my wife, and especially my wife, because she kind of carried, she's just given birth, and she still supported me through painting this miniature and all the time it would take. So really grateful for that. Okay guys, I think I've waffled enough. Thank you so much. Again, if you do want to see the full process, you can check it out over on my Patreon. But for now, goodbye, and I'll see you in another video.